reason you're here, the reason I'm here, is all just to help you.
Everyone says they're trying to help me, but nobody can find me the new episode of BRIGSBY.
There wasn't a new episode this week. This is about moving on with the rest of your life.
Try to imagine a hero. He's not on the bad. There's not a lot of stuff like this out there. You're my friend.
Aloha! This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Oahu here in the state of Hawaii, bringing you the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, and I'm here today at Sand Island Park to give you my review of a film that I saw yesterday called BRIGSBY BEAR. And let me just say, initially when I first saw the poster and the postcards that they were giving away for this movie, I was not really thrilled to see it. It looked like a spooky kind of movie, kind of like a, there's our helicopter again, kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy kind of spooky movie, but it was totally not, so don't you worry about it. Remember our rating scale. Shock a thumbs up, it's good to see, I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down, it's bad to see, it's junk, I don't recommend it. And for BRIGSBY BEAR, it is a strong shock a thumbs up. Like I said, I was so impressed by this movie, especially that it didn't have like big name stars. The two of the biggest actors in this, and really they're not the primary stars, are Mark Hamill and Greg Kinnear, which I hadn't seen in anything for years. So, and they both do an amazing job. Now, this centers on we'll just call him a child, James, who 25 years ago was abducted as a child, maybe possibly even a baby, by a couple from his parents. That I guess, they never really explain it, but I guess they really wanted a child. And so what they did was, and these were two affluent people who were former toy manufacturers. So they had money, and they built or had built already this bomb shelter out in, the desert of Utah, because the film takes place in Utah. Out in seclusion, and pretty much as James was growing up, they tell him that, we have to live down here because the air is poisonous. So he never gets out to experience the real world. Until police come to rescue him, because they finally track down, his kidnappers after 25 years and arrest them and free James, who really didn't know he was a prisoner. All this time, he really thought that, the world had gone through some type of cataclysm and that these were his parents. And there was nothing, strange or odd about that. He was feeling lonely, but he connected through what he thought was a group community on the internet, or, a confined internet, as if you find out later that it's really his parents who he was talking to online all this time, or his abductors all this time. And so essentially he is reunited 25 years later with these strangers, which are his birth parents and his sister. And the odd thing about it was, growing up and being secluded alone, they needed a way for this child, James, to, learn the rules of society without just, interacting with his, abductors, his parents, as he knew them at that time. And so what they do is they create an elaborate, like a PBS TV show, very reminiscent of Sesame Street, called BRIGSBY BEAR, to teach everything from social manners, friendship, mathematics, language, you know, all this stuff, basically, you know, everything that PBS strove to teach you with Sesame Street back in the day. And let me just tell you, they went to an elaborate system, you know, over 700 episodes coming out every week, or you know, and starring this character called BRIGSBY BEAR. And so it was basically a man dressed in a bear costume, you know, which you can see from the trailers, and very reminiscent of a life-size Teddy Ruxpin doll. And so, based on this, James is a fan. This is like the only show. So, of course, he's got action figures that his parents, the abductors, had created for him, t-shirts with his, you know, BRIGSBY BEAR on them. And when he gets out, his primary concern is that he wants to see more BRIGSBY BEAR. But, of course, the show does not exist, as it was only created for him. So, as he's trying to find his place in this world, in this new world, with his real parents, his real sibling, his sister, you know, and come to grips with his entire life for 25 years was nothing more than a lie. And of course he's, you know, somewhat socially inept, never interacting face-to-face with anyone other than his abductors, his parents that he knew at the time. And so he's very much like a teenager, although he's still, you know, a teenager or a child, although he is 25 years old. So it works in the dynamics that, you know, he goes to a party with his sister, meets some people there, other nerds or geeks, socially misfit people, you know, introduced to Star Trek. They start talking about episodes, and him and James, his newfound friend, this fellow nerd, perhaps, and he starts talking about BRIGSBY BEAR. And like any true nerd or fan, super fan, he can go through episode by episode. In this episode, this is this, and this storyline, and it's about the adventures of this BRIGSBY BEAR taking on an intergalactic menace, trying to find, you know, a solution and stop him from conquering the universe through the power of love and friendship. And so it's a very wholesome tale that was told to him to pacify him as a child growing up in his abductors. But, you know, it really is a wholesome, you know, very much a Sesame Street kind of story that takes place. And, you know, so he's got all these old videotapes of this show throughout his childhood that he shares with his friend. His friend uploads them to YouTube, and they start getting hundreds and thousands of hits. And as he is anxious, James is anxious to find a conclusion to the show, you know, symbolically referring to his own situation. He needs a way of closure, a way of finding a way to close off his old life and start anew in this new life. And he can't do that still, you know, without the show in an ending. And who of us would not want to see the finale to one of your favorite shows, you know, one of our favorite shows? I mean, you know, we've had many shows canceled on us through the years, and the idea of it's like, well, you know, we just wanted it to wrap up. We wanted that, you know, that closure with the show, you know, to move on. And it's like, so he decides he's going to go ahead and write a script and do a movie, and his friend is a photographer / studying to be a cameraman for movies, goes ahead and helps him out. Eventually, his new parents, his original parents, come on board with this, and it's a great family, fun, entertaining movie that shows solidarity and growth within the family as everyone comes together to complete, you know, his dream, his vision of finishing the show of BRIGSBY BEAR. And everyone comes to love BRIGSBY BEAR, and thus his movie. And so it's a lot of fun overall. I was so impressed with this movie. I definitely recommend it. Right now, Consolidated is doing the $7, you know, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Check it out. for $7, you can't miss with this movie. So yes, a strong shaka thumbs up for Brigsby Bear. Definitely check this out, even at Regal for $6 on only the Tuesday. Right now, it's only playing at Dole and at the Kahala Mall. So definitely hit it up on one of those special days for the low price, and you can't go wrong with it. But definitely even full price for this movie, you can't go wrong. And you know, if you don't want to go to the theater, keep an eye out for it on iTunes, Netflix. This is definitely going to be a classic. And, you know, it takes you back to your childhood with the shows that you like to watch, you know, and to show that level of enthusiasm that the actor who plays James does with this character. It just hits so many notes. It's a fabulous show. All right, again, shaka thumbs up for Brigsby Bear. Whatever you do, go ahead and check it out. Thanks so much. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, wishing you a happy aloha.